You're welcome. Thank you for staying here on the AM show. My name is Benis Abu-Beidu, and Mama V would join us in a later segment with other important and exciting content for you. But right now, I've got Councillor Amos Kevin Annan with me, and well, he'll be presenting the Hangout session on Sunday. That's October 1, and it's his freebie to you on his birthday. So we'll be talking about that later. But today, we just want to tease out some of the things you'll be talking about at that program. And we're talking about keeping the F-A-I-T-H, you may want to call it faith, in a difficult marriage. Good morning to you. Welcome. Good morning. Belated birthday wishes to you. How was your birthday?
Thank you. Well, I mean, I got the privilege of first being celebrated by a group of young people who did a TV show titled The Minister, and we cut the first cake on Tuesday.
That's nice.
And then on the 27th, I was at Zoe Temple ICJC in Tema Community 5. Reverend Kojo and the wife Lady Jo Amwasari, also presented a beautiful cake.
You've had a lot of cakes there.
And I got a wonderful African wear. I should have brought that studio by Rudolph Amwasari, the younger brother of the pastor. It was a good service. We had a good time together discussing realities confronting today's relationships. And all said and done, it's been a humbling experience.
Let's start off this way. I'm just wondering if a lot of people are delusional when they are in relationships or when they are at the verge of entering a relationship. Let's talk about the realities. Let's break the myths here today.
Well, you see, what normally happens is this, and I describe it in this way, that love sometimes evokes and brings a certain hypnotic effect on an individual. So under the spell of love, either we become overly excited, we get too close too soon, we offer what must be offered tomorrow, today, only to realize that it has a diminishing effect. The law of diminishing returns in economics begins to visit a relationship where the thrill, the excitement no longer exists. And what happens thereafter is that reality dawns on an individual. And for a lot of people, in those difficult moments, whether it is a prenuptial relationship or a consummated union, they want a way out. Because they are no longer going to consider staying through the turbulent period, staying through the uncertainties that holds in prospect to them. So that's why the Lord laid on my heart that as a birthday giveaway, 4 years ago I had a date with 20 single ladies to have a conversation in privacy with them about their views on men. And it was such an eye-opener 4 years ago. One young lady, it was a 3-course meal. I saved for a year just to do that hangout.
Bless you.
Now, one of them pulled me aside after we took our ice cream and said, "You've changed my views about men." And that was refreshing.
Yeah.
That one event can change the views of a young lady about men. The following year, I had a hangout for boys, young guys, 20 of them. And I wanted to tease out to them some of the reflections I received from ladies that I had had conversations with the hope of making them responsible young men who ultimately, if they're going to be husbands, will understand how and what women expect of them. The following year, I had a hangout, which we had the privilege of having you as the anchor.
Thank you. I was
that was
really
last year. And the focus at that time then was for people who were working with youngsters and for parents. And this year, the hangout gift is for singles and spouses. And this year is going to be anchored by Mama V. Oswabuaji.
Very own Mama V. Oswabuaji. All right, so there you have it. Keeping faith in a difficult marriage. And let's break it down, Counselor, because I mean, I'm a young lady. I am hoping to get married soon. But sometimes you hear things from married people that can be really depressing and can, you know, kind of make you want to take a pause and ask yourself, is it all going to end when I get married? Because that's the impression you get, that all the excitement, all the fun is going to end. You spoke about the fact that love sometimes has a hypnotic effect. And because of that, you know, when people begin to lose all the glitz, the glamour, the fun, and reality sets in, they cannot handle it. I have encountered people who really prepare for marriage. And when I say prepare, counseling, they've got advice and all that, but they're still not able to keep the faith. What do we have to do? Let's break it down. Let's make it more real. What do I do?
Okay, let me address that bit before I come to what do I do. We should all understand that you never adequately prepare for marriage.
Okay.
So the preparation is just to give you a certain temporal succor.
Okay.
It's a buffer or it's a holding area for you. But there are things you learn on the job. Because now you're going to live with a person for the very first time in closest proximity. And that is when you see more of the negatives of the individual. Because we all get allured or attracted to the strengths of an individual. But now when we live with them, we have to manage their weaknesses and the faults and the negatives. Now, it is the management of those realities that pop up like popcorn that leaves so many people disenchanted. So there are essential things. That's why we chose the acronym FAITH, because those are the things couples are denying each other in the face of difficulty. The F is fidelity. Because my wife or husband is doing this, I cannot keep faith. So my fidelity is sacrificed or displaced to another. So I'm no longer holding them in an exclusive union. The second one is affirmation. I cease to affirm my spouse simply because I'm hurt, I'm embittered. There is a lingering issue, there's an outstanding unresolved matter, so I can't affirm them.
What are the forms of affirmation?
For instance, she dresses nicely, you won't compliment her. He comes, does all the chores, run around, buy things for the house, you don't notice it. So whether he exists or doesn't exist is not an issue.
You're living with a stranger.
You're just living, you are just tolerating the individual. So there's no affirmation. And then that lends itself to critique, constant critique, critique. And then we become so callous towards each other. So there's no affirmation. Then the I, intimacy. There are couples who are engaging in sexual activity, but there's no intimacy. Because intimacy is deeper than sex. It's deeper, far rewarding, far enriching. Because when you are intimate with somebody, there's friendship, there's camaraderie, as the French would call it. There's a certain sense of, oh yeah, oh wow. That effect is missing. Absent in body, present in mind. You see, and then the T is the element of trust. People have become perpetually suspicious and mistrusting of their spouses simply because there is a difficult scenario. Maybe a third party is intruding, maybe in-laws are becoming an obstacle, maybe you think that there's fashionism against you, so some will conclude that, oh, he's ganged up with his sister or brother against me. And so you can't trust your spouse. Or maybe there was an incident that occurred in the past, a text message that you saw, some anonymous calls, some late calls, and then that creates a difficulty. You are unable to communicate in clear ways what it is that is bothering you. So trust is compromised. And the other bit, harmony. Everybody needs harmony, spirit, soul, body. And when you are within the context or the confines of the marital union, you need harmony. Because harmony creates a conducive environment for nurturing, conducive environment for growth, for productivity, for friendship, for companionship. So when these 5 elements I have raised are absent, that marriage will have rocking turbulence.
Elder, You talk about harmony, and it reminds me of a regular expression that I hear within the space that I work in. It's truth over harmony. Should you borrow that principle in marriage? Should you use it? So if you were my husband and I am upset with you,
yeah,
I should be able to put truth over harmony in the sense that if it would affect the harmony we enjoy, I should still be able to tell you anyway.
Exactly. You see, truth must not jeopardize harmony. Harmony reinforces the presence and the receiving of truth. Because the one who loves you is the one who is going to be honest with you. The sincerity with which they speak to you will be taken in your stride. So, but it's also not just talking truth. It is also about how you communicate truth. If you communicate truth to hurt, to disparage, to denigrate, to deride, it's not truth. It's destructive truth. And so we need to be measured, those of us who think we have the power to speak truth because we are in a sacrosanct position, to the one who has become a victim of an uncalled for behavior. You who speak truth must speak truth that edifies, truth that elicits and does not make a person defensive. And so you speak truth in love. You garnish your truth with love. And how do you show love? Grace and mercy. Two elements that must never be missing in love. Grace gives you what you don't deserve. Mercy does not treat you the way you deserve. So if I'm saying I'm a gracious spouse or a gracious significant one, even what you don't deserve, I'll give it to you. And how you deserve a particular thing, I would not, because I know it will be inimical to the union. And those to whom this mirror back is giving should be magnanimous enough and humble enough to admit that they have erred. And to err, it is said, is human. And to forgive is divine. We all agree that we are divine individuals. We are spirit beings. How come we find it so difficult to forgive?
That's another one we have to explore, Elder, because, you know, sometimes, like you say, we make a vows before God and before witnesses that we won't do certain things. And you've done it once, you've done it twice, you're doing it a third time.
Yeah. For those who are religious, you see, when we make a vow and we quickly violate the vow, it's a reality of today's relationships and marriages. But what do I do in such situation? I should come quickly and realize that, well, the person reneged on their vows, but can I have a heart of grace? You should not be weary in doing good. Why do we always become so quick leaning on weariness in doing good? I always point out this. We have rocking relationships with individuals who are working colleagues, but we just defer judgment and emotions for corporate goals to be achieved. Why is it then so difficult for us to practice the same in our relationships and marriages? For the corporate good, for the mutual benefit. But it's simply because some of us get so egocentric and we think we are superior.
Elder, what about the one who violates the vows? So if I'm the one you vowed never to cheat on and you did, you're expecting that I understand that you're human, you're fallible, and all those things. But what about the one who's violated the vow? I
would not endorse a person becoming recalcitrant, violator of trust. Somebody who recycles the violation, somebody who repeatedly is violating, that is not innocent. That is contrived, that is deliberate, and you are treating your other party to nothing. You should understand that if it happens accidentally, admit it was an accident, you got overly excited, you got carried away, you were swept off your feet, which are possibilities in human endeavor. Once you admit to that fault, you should be considerate enough to reform. So I would require of the person who is caught in that to reform their ways, amend their behavior, and take to a new lease of life to create assurance in the other party.
It's possible.
It's doable.
I know of a couple like that. It's very, very possible to forgive
difficult.
and move on and have a great life ahead. But let's talk about those who also promise. They promise you wild things. You know, we hear a lot of things, Elder. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
People promise the moon and the galaxies. And yes, I mean, I understand that sometimes we have certain goodwill towards people that we are not able to achieve. But sometimes it also hurts when people promise to do something or to promise to be something and they're not able to achieve. How do you deal with that also?
We've got first to look at what circumstances led to their inability to deliver what they promised. And sometimes there may be reasonable basis for which they were unable to deliver. And that means that they must clearly communicate their incapacitation to deliver. But where it is that they assume you would know, without disclosing some details, especially when you're dealing with a melancholy person, they are people who are having a default to details because they are insistent on compliance. So if you have a person in a relationship with you, a union with you, who is melancholy, pay attention. Don't give them one-liners because they won't take one-liners. Sanguines may go with one-liner and will be okay, but not so melancholy. Melancholies are very detailed people. They want to know how come, when did they start? So what did you do? Did you notice some dangers? And stuff like that. So once you have promised, endeavor to deliver. If you are unable to deliver for any reason, explain yourself, create understanding. Because people are reasonable human beings. They are not unreasonable.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are talking about keeping the faith in relationships, and I've got Elder Amos Kevin Annan with me. And for me, marriage is just one complex issue, but everything is doable. And like he said, you need to learn to communicate. People are reasonable. People understand things. But let's talk about planning well for the event, which is the wedding. Because you see, I get a lot of that. A lot of my female friends are excited. So where are you going to do the wedding? What gown are you going to choose? What's your bridal party going to look like? And nobody's asking, where are you going to live? You know, where are you going to live? How would that play in your job and all that? Do you think we spend too much time on an event, or is a cultural deficiency we have?
I call relationships today a Trojan horse.
Oh, that's serious.
It's a Trojan horse. Maybe one day we'll have a conversation around the Trojan horse called relationships. Now, a lot of young men and women get excited about the flamboyance and the bliss an event offers them without pausing to pay attention to the institution called marriage, which requires a foundation upon which it is built, pillars for support, trusses to hold the roof. We don't do those things. And so people get into an exciting wedding situation. They end up with someone in marriage, and reality dawns on them. They go, oh, someone had spent $150,000
on a wedding.
On a wedding. They go 6 months and they're looking for a way out. What happened? What many fail to recognize is that the love that you had prior to marriage is different from the love you experience in marriage.
Tell me about it.
You see, the love prior to marriage is so spontaneous.
Okay.
And leaves you with a lot of thrills and chills and excitement.
Okay.
But the love in marriage is intentionally communicated. It is intentionally experienced. If I don't intentionally choose to love you in the union, I won't love you.
But isn't it the same for entering a relationship? For example, I have many suitors. Okay, I've got 5
I can
gentle.
imagine.
I've got 5.
You're confessing now.
No. I'm just giving an
You're
example.
playing a scenario.
Yeah. So I've got 5 gentlemen, and okay, this one is good Christian. I mean, and all you're doing all your checks and balances, but then you endear towards one. but then you decide, no, I choose to love this one for this and that
Yeah.
reason. Isn't it the same
What you're
scenario?
doing is to do elimination by substitution.
Okay.
If you have suitors, clearly they will not all be at the same level on all levels or through all categories. So one will hold sway above all the others, stand what you
out.
call primus inter pares, okay, the first amongst equals. So once you hoist that individual as the first amongst all of them, you keep it at that. The sad thing is that people make that choice and wish they had the other one, wish they had this other one, because they now realize that they don't have this particular thing for real.
Complete.
Some of it was a smoke screen or a facade. But that's the reality. You've made a choice. And I always compare marriage to, and that's the marriage maze, to going to a Chinese restaurant. Continental Chinese may have other languages explaining the meals, whether in English, Spanish, French. That's continental Chinese. But they have the classical Chinese, which everything is written in Chinese. Oftentimes, what I do is when I go into any new restaurant I'm not familiar with, ask, what's your flagship menu? And they say, this is the one we have. This is our take.
Yeah.
I mean, the chef's choice. Then I pick that one. Then also I will see someone going with a sauce, going to serve another table. I say, which one is that? Then they say, this is number 15 on the sauce. Or I see something on someone's table and I get attracted to the color, the mix, and the succulent and appetizing nature of it. I'm already salivating, so I want that one too in addition. But the strange thing is that when that is served you and you notice there's some element in there you're not particularly comfortable with, would you call the waitress to come take it away? That's what you ordered for. Now that you have that, customize your love for that individual. We have customization of vehicles, customization of phones, laptops. I am calling for the customization of love.
But Elder, where do you draw the line? For example, yes, this is what I ordered for, but I mean, I should be able to say, you know what, I'm not taking this. Where do we draw the line in relationships? You know, for example, I remember somebody's, I don't know how true it is, maybe you'll tell me, somebody suggested that binding and losing the law could mean that if I'm in an abusive relationship, yes, I should try to work it out, but I shouldn't stay in it and die. I can lose the law for my sake. So when do we draw the line, really? At what point should we say, if I keep doing this, I'm going to die in this relationship, I'm going to lose it?
I mean, for a person who is in a relationship prior to marriage, that the person tells you, I can't stop hanging around with other girls, it's a red flag. I am very intemperate. That's a red flag. I have poor anger management. That's a red flag. I have issues with women. That's a red flag. I can't trust men. That's a red flag. Some of us take solace in a very, very illusionary way that says, oh, when we marry, he will change. Marriage, for Christ's sake, doesn't change people. You cannot marry somebody and wish they change. And it is so common with women. You see all the visible signs, all the characterization that this guy will be an unloyal, unfaithful, going nowhere kind of a guy, so let's keep it. You get in wishing he won't change, and the person shows you he will change, and he doesn't change. For many men, they marry women hoping they will not look different, and the women change in size, in form, and everything, and they are disenchanted. Now they're looking. One of my friends, who is a counselor, said, "Well, you want a Coca-Cola shape, you got it. You want back axle, you got it. What if that fades off?"
Which one is the back axle?
Oh yeah, you know. They call it,
I
the guys call it shampoos. People with shampoos.
Okay.
And then they have one, they say weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, okay.
Those are all the terminologies the young men are just quibbling over and arguing about. And you get all these things, but you should remember anything you see with your eyes is not permanent.
Exactly.
So when the person changes in form, in shape, in color, what do? That's where coping skills are required. But it appears today our threshold for coping is so low. Because we forget that marriage spans between enjoyment and endurance. There are some things you enjoy in marriage, but there are some things too you must endure.
It's a mixed bag.
But you cannot endure abuse, battery, because that can lead to death. Some acts in marriage are cruel. Some of them are against the law. And against the law means against the state. It will traverse you to other generational people. And so there's a need for us to draw a line between what is tolerable and what must not be tolerated. Some things are reprehensible. And when it is reprehensible, we should. You can't marry somebody and keep them in a cage. No. Give them the space to breathe. They need aeration to survive. If you don't provide those things, you are suffocating them. So there's a need for us to get to that point where it is that people manage their journey. You know, there's maze in the newspapers. Marriage is like a maze. You start off knowing the beginning, but you're not sure how it will end.
So if you hit a block, you try and find your way around.
Your way out. We should prepare our minds that there'll be surprises on the way. There'll be discoveries. You prepare adequately. You know the person. You can predict this, their mood. You know their temperament. That's not enough.
So is it safe to say we should keep an open mind?
Yes. Go with a good heart. I would say goodwill.
Okay.
Because too many relationships and marriages are informed by ill will. There's a need for us to be a bit more accommodating, a bit more relaxing on these things, so that we don't assume we have a perfect human being we're dealing with.
Whew. Every time we talk about marriage, it's just one complex, very complex topic.
Everything about life is complex.
Right, but you see, so in marriage you have two complex people coming to do a complex thing, which makes it multi-complex. If there's anything like that.
In an office setting, two complex individuals come together to achieve a corporate goal, and they do it.
But having a good marriage is possible.
Oh, it is possible, but you've got to work at it. It's a lot of hard work. I like something Thomas Edison once said. He was quoted as having said that opportunity stares at people's faces, and they avoid it because it is dressed in overall and looks like hard work. Too many people are running away because they think it's hard work. What in this life is not hard work? Yes, I was telling leaders that if you think taking risk to engage with young people is too much a risk to bear, then you are not ready for leadership. Because leadership is risk-taking. And people should be ready to take risk. To engage with a female is a risk you take as a married man, because some of them have motives other than generous. Okay? But you must always endeavor to operate on a principle that says, in God I trust, every human being, including myself, I monitor.
Interesting.
Don't leave an open space for you to be vulnerable. And some of us play into our vulnerability.
But Elder, doesn't it make people too careful? Because I've seen friends who are also just too careful. I mean, they can't breathe in a relationship. They cannot give the best of themselves to their partner because they are so careful, and they're in this world of, you know what, I mean, I just want to make sure everything goes well.
In a can they say everything is French.
Everything, you know, and they can't breathe. And I've had friends who say, look, she's too formal. I can't get to who she really is. It's like I'm hitting a roadblock, you know.
Now, B, I've known you for years.
Yes.
Okay. Since your early days.
Yes.
And I've been very warm with you.
Yes.
But I keep it not too personal, but professional. You see, the moment you warm yourself into a female, you're going to be vulnerable as a male.
Okay.
So we've got to always keep boundaries. Because what boundaries do for you as an individual, they are not brick walls. They are not ivories. They are not towers. They are boundaries. They are gaping holes to allow for space, for air to come in.
Okay.
But boundaries help you to retain your dignity, and it also determines how you express your emotions. Unfortunately, there are so many people in our world without boundaries.
They can do anything, say anything.
And sometimes they are outrightly brash and vulgar, and they think it's fun. Look at you, you are in an office space, somebody comes and tickles you. Is that part of work? Place practice? Is that what makes a person connect? No. Tickling is not part of it. Why is it that the people in the West don't do that, and yet they show warmth?
But can a hug pass in the
A
office?
hug passes, but you can't always oblige me for a hug.
Okay, so we are talking we are talking about other relationships outside marriage, but let's look within marriage. You have people like that.
Yeah.
People, for example, I'm in a relationship and I have boundaries. We don't do this, we don't do that, which is, like you said, to safeguard the relationship and the dignity of the two, just in case we don't proceed to the next level, which is marriage. But once we get into marriage, sometimes people find it difficult taking off those boundaries, because now you're married and you don't need those boundaries anymore.
Yes, you don't need it, you see, but those boundaries need to fade off gradually.
Okay.
I'm a gradualist.
Okay.
Because people are so prone to miracle interventions, and they assume that everything is going to be miraculously good. That's not how it starts. You are now settling in. You're going to warm yourself into each other at a different level. I always say that every new level introduces a new devil.
Oh,
the devil you knew prior to your marriage is different from the devil you're going to deal with in the marriage.
And when kids come in.
And when kids come in, that's rivalry. You notice that a father or mother is fighting with their own child, because it's either the child is getting too close to the dad, especially if they're girls, or if the boy is getting too attached to the mom, and the man is fighting for space. A man was trying to hold the wife's upper part, and the son said, "Daddy, is that for you?"
I've seen a lot of videos like that, where children are fighting their parents.
Their own dad. And so if you're not careful, you become so rejected and isolated as a man. And many then look for other
ways,
outlets. Because some of the women are not paying attention to the feeling of neglect in their husband. And so he starts scavenging. Because everything you look for outside your marriage is scavenging.
That's not a good one. If
you're
looking for things outside your marriage, then I mean this expression.
Scavenging. You're looking for emotional support.
It's not a good one for you.
Your wife or husband is not giving you emotional support. You are getting it from an office colleague. It's scavenging. You are looking for intimacy from your spouse. He's not giving you. You get it outside. It's scavenging. Who wants to feed on the garbage hill?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Whew. Well, we can't exhaust it all here. That's why you have to be at that hangout with Elder Amos Annan, which is this Sunday. And Mama Vio Usabwaji will be there. She's the moderator. It's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of knowledge, sharing, and I'm sure you're going to have, some...
Oh, yes. Some friends have brought me ice cream. There's this guy who is bringing pork.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm not a fan of pork, though, but those who like it, there's going to be kebab, there's going to be sobolo, asana. It's all for free.
Everything is for free.
Yeah,
so just
it's
tell
a
us
hangout with Amos and his friends.
Where? When?
Okay. Well, it's the 1st of October. It's usually the first Sunday of October every year, because my birthday is 27th September.
Okay.
And so I look for the weekend where we can hang out. And so it is happening in Tema, Community 7. It's the Pentecost International Worship Center.
PIWC.
PIWC, Com 7. It's on the Okonfo Anoche Street. If you Google it, you can find it. When you get there, it's opposite Subin Valley Complex. The time is 5:30 p.m. It's a Sunday, so it's after church. And we close at 8 for the event. Now, I am having 4 of my very good friends. Letitia Ohini Efa, who is the co-founder of Lead Afrique. I have Adeline Mensah, Mrs., and she's the lead counselor for Agape House New Testament Church, a very affable woman. I have 2 other males, Dr. Emmanuel Hobson, who is a clinical psychologist and conflict mediation specialist. Then I have a friend, Isaac Omari Koranting. He's a banker and the founder and visionary for Save Marriage Foundation. So I'm bringing these 2 ladies and these 2 gentlemen. They would all speak to the theme of keeping faith. Take one word and explain it in 10 minutes each. After that, 50 minutes, they sit as a panel, and that is to be anchored by Mama V. And that's going to be taking questions from the audience, interacting with them. And then the last 30 minutes is the real hangout, where we go chill out, talk to somebody. And and then we close.
All right, so look, I mean, this is a lifeline for somebody.
And we'll be outdooring next year's one.
Oh, great.
This year, because we want to plan it ahead. And next year is Amos, Kevin, Annan hanging out with students and professionals.
Okay.
So it's going to be like a ball next year. We're taking it to the next level.
It keeps getting better along the line. But this is a lifeline. I know you're listening, you're watching. You may think that you need help in your relationship, marriage, even family.
Family life.
Friendship. You want to save that friendship you've had for a long time. Hang out with Amos, Kevin, and I guarantee you. I've been to an event of his last year, and it will give you the solution. If it doesn't give you the solution, come and look for me here at Multimedia. Thank you very much for coming through. Well, we won't do a refund because, hey, you're not paying anything for it. And that's the good news. It's free. Come and have fun. Come and get some tips to save your relationship. And this is just his gift as he commemorates his birth every year for the past 4 years. Thank you so much. A very wonderful initiative. Bless you. Bless you too. Thank you for coming. So we'll be seeing you on Sunday. Mama V and myself will be there, and it will be a fun time hanging out with Elder Amos, Kevin, Annan. Thank you for watching the AM show. It's not over yet. There's more shortly. Please stay with us.